Today I'm doing something a little bit different. I was planning on bringing you my notes from Atomic Habits, but I have a busy week. I am going out of town because I'm shooting a segment that I am hosting and producing for a new show that will air on Fox Business in the new year. I'll tell you more about that when I can, but it's a bit of a short work week for me on the Media Maven side of things. I'm obviously still working. So I did something on Monday, October 20th with my friend Jessica Terzakis. You will hear how we met. We did a LinkedIn audio event, which is something new to me. I did not know this existed, but it exists. And she invited me to do this audio event to promote my book. She's like so supportive, like it's insane. So she was like, yeah, let's do this. Let's talk about what you do and promote your book and all of this. So she's great at what she does, and she just kind of interviews me. And we talked about a lot of things. I shared a lot of specific stories, and she's fabulous. So if you ever need somebody to help you with course creation as far as what to put in your content, she is your girl. She's a former teacher, so her focus is very much on the best way for people to learn, and she helps put together a bunch of content. She's amazing. She will help you with that. Check her out. She is linked in the show notes for this episode, and you can connect with her on LinkedIn and in all the places. But that is it. That is what we did. This is a copy of that LinkedIn audio event. I shared it as it was happening live, and I'm going to play it for you now.
We are live.
So
Hey,
cool.
Dana. Hi, Sarah. So I invited Dana and Sarah to join us today to just A, listen to the content, and B, check out this cool new thing called LinkedIn audio events. So hi, Ryan. Good to see you. Hi, Amina. Thanks for joining us. Christina, I say we just jump in and actually first I'll do this. Hi, Jesse. For those of you who were not around in the Clubhouse days, some of you may be like, what even is Clubhouse? LinkedIn audio events are, as it sounds, just an audio event. And the way that you can interact with us is on the bottom, you'll see react buttons, and that's going to give you the ability to like give a thumbs up, give a heart. So maybe we actually practice, like, can you give me a reaction as you are listening, right? Let's just practice that real quick.
This is pretty cool. Oh, I see the thumbs up from Dana.
There we
Sweet.
go.
Jesse's
Cool.
giving us the hearts. Amina with the thumbs up. Okay, this is so
Love
neat.
it. Yeah. So, and of course, you know, if you wanted to invite anyone to join us, and if you have entrepreneurial friends who would benefit from hearing how to find more clients, which if you're an entrepreneur who isn't looking to find more clients, you could also invite them to the audio event. So we're going to dig in. And firstly, I just want to say thank you so much for coming today to listen to this conversation about the most overlooked and free way to grow your business and find more clients. So let's try it now. Can you give me a reaction if you're like, yes, I would love to know how to find more clients these days that do not involve posting on social media all the time? Yes, Ryan's giving us a thumbs up. Well, I've got a treat for you. Amina's giving me a heart. Jesse's giving me a thumbs up. I've got a treat for you because I have invited Christina Nicholson to join us today. And Christina, I would love for you to introduce yourself, and then we'll get into the good stuff. Hi, Tiffany.
Yeah, so the short version of who I am a former TV reporter and anchor. I went to school for journalism, started as a one-man band in New York City, and then worked my way up to my last TV market, which was the Miami-Fort Lauderdale market. I worked in the NBC station. And I had a couple of kids. I needed a more flexible schedule. So I got into public relations. And a lot of people go from journalism to PR because we know what it's like to work in a newsroom. And we're on the receiving end of getting a lot of pitches, not just from publicists, but from business owners doing their own PR. And we know what works and what doesn't. We know, obviously, what we say yes to, what we cover and why we cover it. So it's a natural transition for a lot of journalists to go into PR. I worked at an agency for 6 months and had a really bad boss. So after 6 months, I went off on my own and I called myself a quote unquote professional freelancer, where I would work LinkedIn, I would work Upwork, and I would get my own clients, and I would undercharge. But I think this is what a lot of us do when we're starting a business. We're getting our feet wet. And I did that for about 2 years, and things didn't really change for me until I hired my first business coach, which also worked with Jessica Terzakis. That is how I met Jessica. I would say it was 2017-ish. when Jessica and I met because we were in the same business coaching program. And that's when I learned more about business. Like, I knew how to service my clients. I knew how to get them publicity without spending money on ads, but I didn't really know the business side of things, like when it came to sales and building a team and paying a team and all of that. So fast forward, I slowly started building a team. So I have a small team of former journalists working to help business owners get exposure without spending money on ads. But I also have an online course, a podcast, a newsletter, and now a book that helps that small business owner or solopreneur or freelancer who doesn't have an agency budget to execute this on their own or with a VA. So everything I do is under the media umbrella. I still do some TV hosting here and there sometimes. I do a lot of content creation. I talk about this stuff a lot. I'm a big believer in practicing what you preach. I'm a big bookworm, a big podcast listener. So I'm always learning what the latest and greatest is in online business and marketing. And Jessica, I'm so grateful that you're hosting my very first LinkedIn audio event. So thanks for having me here.
Yes.
That's my spiel.
Well, and I'll say this, I think every single person that I see right now listening, some of you I know really well, what I'm seeing and why I'm so excited that you're here to talk about with us is finding clients right now. I think most people are used to, well, I've got to go find clients. So I've got to go, get on social media. I've got to go, speak, which a lot of service-based entrepreneurs do. I've got to go get out on other stages. I've got to go network. Like Ryan and I were just talking over the weekend. Ryan's in the audience listening. He's like, I just went to some networking events last week. And I think all of those things work. But Christina, I want to dig into why I titled this the most overlooked and free way to grow your business and find more clients. So I'd love to just see a thumbs up or some sort of reaction from those of you in the audience. And hey, Shaylin and Amanda, thanks so much for joining us. I'd love to see some sort of reaction. Would you like to know another way to get in front of more people, to find more clients, to grow your business? Dana's giving me a clapping. Yes. So Christina, let's start getting into the good stuff, right? Which is, how do you see entrepreneurs generally go about trying to find more clients? And you're like, oh my gosh, you guys are missing this opportunity.
I mean, there's so many ways, and some things work better for others. Like, we're all in different industries, we all do different things. But something that never fails is that referral. I mean, when we think of what movie are you going to see, or where are you going to go out to eat, or when you look at where your best clients come from that turn into the easiest sell, like the sales process is very smooth, that's when you get a referral. And that's because it comes with authority and credibility. So when you are featured in the media, for example, when you're a guest on a podcast, or when you're quoted in an article online, or when you are featured in a 3-minute segment on local TV, that is like a referral, because that is the podcast host, that is the website, that is the local TV station telling everybody you're great. And you asked me about mistakes people make. I think the biggest mistake people make is not doing this. Because A, they don't understand it, which I understand people not understanding earned media, because it is complicated. And it's complicated now more than ever, because there's a lot of—
Can I just jump in real quick, Christina?
Yeah.
Can we define real quickly for everyone here, like, what does earned media mean?
So there's 3 kinds of media. There's owned, earned, and paid. Owned media, that's the stuff you own. That's your social media. That's your website. You own it. You are in control of what you put out there. That's you telling everybody about what you do. Then there's paid media, which is paying for advertising. So that's you buying an ad in a local glossy magazine. That's you investing in Facebook ads or Instagram ads. Then there's earned media. And I like to tell people this is where you would want to advertise, but you're not spending any money. You're just getting there for free. So to give you an example, I can use an example of somebody listening here live. Do you know what any of these people do, or what their expertise is, what they would want to earn some coverage for?
Yeah, so let's just use Ryan, for example. Ryan is a certified financial planner.
Okay. So with a certified financial planner, he needs to build his expertise. He needs to be the go-to guy. So he needs to earn exposure talking about money and money planning. So, for example, we always want to look at the calendar. We want to look at the calendar. We want to look at what's trending now, what's happening now. What is money news that Ryan could jump on and make relevant? This could be more a real estate niche, but I'm going to go with it. This is not my niche at all, Ryan. So I'm sorry if I'm butchering this, but go with me here for example's sake. Purchasing a home. We've seen a lot of stories about the interest rates are really high. The housing market is crazy in certain areas. But what can people do if they want to own a home? And how can they make it happen with this high interest rate and the high home prices? So that's something that you could pitch to real estate trades. That's something you could pitch locally to where you live and make it hyper local about the local real estate market. And you just want to give with value, lead with value. So it's like, these are 5 ways you could purchase a home and, not let it break the bank or break your savings with interest rates the way they are. And don't just think about traditional media in the form of, like local TV, local newspaper. You also want to look at podcasts. What kind of podcasts are talking about finance? Because those are probably listeners that you want to reach. And then also look at popular websites that may not be media outlets. Everybody's doing content marketing. Everybody should be. Like, you should all have blogs on your website where you're talking about what you do. So if you're going to go with that story, you could reach out to Zillow. I'm sure Zillow.com has a blog on their website. I'm sure Realtor.com has a blog on their website. Or, any kind of website that your ideal customer or client is visiting. That's the kind of stuff where you want to be found sharing your expertise. And that is earned because you are literally earning it. And that's where the third-party endorsement comes. That's where the referral comes, because it's not you telling everybody you're great. It's somebody else saying, here, look, this is Ryan sharing his expertise, and we trust him enough to put him here, and he's not giving us anything for it. So that proves automatically he is an authority in his industry. He is an expert, and that's where you get that recognition.
And I just want to jump in and talk about how powerful this is, because, and maybe I might bring up a reference, Christina, that you're going to love in just a second. A few years ago, using your help to pitch myself to get on a podcast, which is an example of earned media, as you were sharing. I got on a podcast 2 years ago, and as a result, I think 125 people opted in to my email list as a result of that podcast. And I had probably the easiest sales conversations I could possibly have after that podcast. And it was because that person was, I wouldn't say she was not like on a Gary V kind of Joe Rogan level with the podcast, but she had a huge following, right? And people, listen to her, they trust her. I came in, started talking, and people were like, oh my gosh, I want to have a conversation with you. I want to follow you. I want to start, talk about courses with you. And I could not believe in that moment how much easier that was than like, well, I guess I'm just going to go post on Facebook again, right?
Yeah, and that's the way, it really does make the sales conversation so much easier, because especially with the podcast, I'm a big fan of podcasts for people who want to build their personal brands, because if you listen to somebody talk for 30 minutes, you really decide in that 30 minutes if you know, like, and trust them. And it cuts the sales conversation down by like 90%, because they've already decided if they know, like, and trust you. And at that point, it's just a matter of like, okay, how much? What's the timeline? Like, let's pull the trigger and let's go. You have to think about it when you think of sales. Like, we're talking about getting leads and growing your business, finding more clients. Your clients find you this way. You're just sharing your expertise. They're looking for it. They find it, and then they come to you. They'll join your email list. Then you have a sales conversation. And sometimes they'll join your email list and they'll be on that list for months, if not years. And then they pull the trigger, because again, sometimes we got to see the same thing over and over and over again, or sometimes we're in a certain season in our life or in our business where we're not ready to invest in something. But that's, again, where your own media comes in handy. You earn the media, you get these people on your radar, and then you nurture them with your own content. And then when they're ready to buy, you are front and center. And that's the difference between marketing and sales. Marketing is letting people know you are here, letting people know who you are. And then sales is actually that sales conversation, that sales transaction. And the marketing, this part of marketing specifically, it's the best kind because not only is it free, you're not paying for any of this coverage, but it's the only kind that gives you that third party endorsement. So you're already leaps and bounds ahead of people who just focus on paid or just focus on their own media.
Now, can I just ask everyone listening, like, give me a reaction, thumbs up, heart, applause. If you've ever been on a podcast and you're like, oh my gosh, I did that once and it worked so well. And why haven't I done it before? Like, maybe this is a good reminder for you, at least with that example of being a guest on somebody else's podcast, leveraging their audience. I'd love to know, or we'd love to know if that's been your experience because, and this is, I think, Christina, the reference you're going to love. I think what's so powerful about earned media is leveraging somebody else's audience. For example, now I'm going to butcher the crap out of this. Ryan's probably dying because Ryan's a good personal friend of my husband and I. Um, the Taylor Swift Travis Kelce relationship.
I
I
love
think
it.
I saw some statistics. I think I saw some statistics about how Kansas City Chiefs, like their profits for their jerseys skyrocketed,
Yes.
viewership skyrocketed, all of this because they tapped into somebody else's audience, which was Taylor Swift, right? She brought her, audience to the game, I guess, for
Yeah,
lack of a
I
better
mean,
phrase,
excuse me,
right?
I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan, and then I'm also a Philadelphia Eagles fan because now I'm a huge fan of the Kelsey brothers. On my list of things to do, it's to watch the documentary. Like I am one of those people that has been turned, and that's a great example.
I hope I explained it correctly. My husband's
You
probably like, "What are
totally
you talking
did.
about?" But I think that's sort of what we're getting at here with the overall theme is that social media is one platform, networking is one way to find clients. But how often are you in your business leveraging somebody else's audience, like being a guest on a podcast? And I wonder, Christina, can we give some other examples besides being a guest on somebody else's podcast? Like, what else have you done, or who else have you mentored to get other examples of earned media?
Yeah, so I could give you a few examples. Little Words Project was a client of mine for a while. If you're not familiar, they make the one word bracelet with a positive saying on it, which it's funny, it's super trendy now because of Taylor Swift, but it existed, years before we were trading the bracelets at the movie and the concert. And that company, we got not just the company to feature the bracelets, but we also got the founder's entrepreneurial story. So we got her a write-up in Forbes about how she started her business. And she started it in a dorm room. The idea came from being bullied, and she wanted to look down at her wrist and see a positive word. So on one hand, we're getting her founder story in Forbes, and then we're getting her roundups online in places like Reader's Digest and E! News. And the roundups are like 15 great $20 things to buy for your graduate this year, or the top 20 wedding gifts to send with your bridesmaids on the night before the wedding, like something like that. We also got her on the Today Show. We got a segment called She Made It. This was popular during COVID, where they would feature a female-owned business. 3-minute segment talking about her and her business. And then what transpired after that was a big jump in social media followers. And I remember the account shared a story, and it was like, hey, saying hi to all our new followers. We are finishing hundreds of orders for you guys, because you got to think about who watches the Today Show. Don't think about the Today Show. We all know what it is, but who watches it? It's women who watch it. So that was a good audience for them. I had another client who had
Well, and I was just gonna, can I jump in real quick and just ask,
please.
like, the Little Words Project, now she's a product-based business, but
Yes.
we can kind of use our imagination here and apply it to ourselves. What happened to their business once they got the write-up in Forbes? And obviously the Today Show, that's like the creme de la creme. That is like the peak of what we could all hope for. But I'm curious, what happened to their business?
It's funny because that was like more than the Today Show, that was her favorite hit. That was her favorite, more than the Today Show one. And the Today Show one translated into more sales. But when it comes to Forbes, I think she really liked it because it was like the mission behind her business. And that
Mhm.
added credibility. So when you pitch the Today Show, you take that and like, oh, here's the write up of the business in Forbes. And it's all about repurposing that stuff. Because like I
Mhm.
wrote for Inc. magazine for 2 years. I never had anybody reach out to me and say, oh, I saw your article in Inc. I want to hire you. Instead, I took those articles and I shared them on social media. And then people would say, oh, you write for Inc. How do I get an Inc.? And that was like the publicity turning into profit. So there's so many different ways to turn publicity into profit. I hate it when people say, oh, I got featured here, but nothing happened. Or, oh, I was on a podcast, but nothing happened. And a couple of things are wrong with that. One, there is so much that you can do to turn that publicity into profit. A few weeks ago, I released an episode on my podcast about the top 10 things to do to turn publicity into profit, either after you create content or after you get a media hit. It's really all about sharing and amplifying that. And then two, think of your own behavior when you see something. You don't see something once and say, "Oh, I'm going to go buy that." Like you don't see a guest on local news, you don't read an article and hear about a software and jump to buy it. It's when you hear about it or you see it multiple times over the course of a few weeks, months, or years. Like this is a slow burn. And so many people, if you are at the point in your business where you're like, I'm going to shut my business down if I don't get some sales, where can you get me right now? That's not how this works. How this works is you want to be top of mind, so you need to be in a variety of places in a variety of at a variety of times. So the Forbes article was just one of those places doing one of those things. And I think that's what is important for people to keep in mind, because a lot of people think like, if I just got this one place one time, my business will blow up and it'll change my business. Sometimes that could happen, but that's very rare. 9 times out
Mhm.
of 10, you need to be here, there, getting this audience at this time. And then a month later, a little reminder, hey, we're still here. Here's some more inspiration, or here's another thing we do. It's definitely a slow burn, but it is where you're going to get that credibility and authority. And it is what's going to stick out and what people are going to remember the most. They're not going to remember an ad. They're not going to remember a post. They're going to remember those referrals or third-party endorsements multiple times over time.
Well, and I think that's what, I'm even just thinking there's the slow burn kind of approach to it. But also I know every single person here is like, well, I've got to have content to email to my list. I've got to have content to post on social media. It's like, well, you getting a feature in something like Forbes, or you getting featured on someone's podcast, or you getting featured on, local news. That's all content that you can repurpose, right? And then you're not like, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to write about? And that kind of content is what gives you that authority. Um, Christina, I'm wondering, do you have a service-based example? Because I think as I'm looking at the audience, I am venturing to guess 100% of the people here are service-based, like some sort of consultant, advisor, strategist, coach of some variation. Do you have any examples of what you've done with someone in that arena?
Yeah. So when it comes to service based, that is where you promote yourself as an expert. Everything you're going to get, it's going to be those expertise quotes or even contributor articles. This is something that we actually added content creation and SEO focused writing to our list of services, because many times when we pitch clients, not just service based, honestly, but like if you created an app that helps people, that's going to fall under the same umbrella as promoting your expertise. And many times we'll pitch journalists and they'll be like, hey, we love this story, but we just don't have the resources to write it. And be like, okay, well, we'll write it. Like if you need us to write it to get it placed, then we'll do that. So
Mhm.
when you are pitching something like that, it's going to be all about your expertise. And some tricks to do this are, one is look at the calendar, look at the seasons, look at the days. So I had a service-based client who, she's based in San Diego, and she does meal plans, dietitian stuff for kids. It was around the fall, and we pitched packing a lunch for your kids that they will actually eat at school. And that turned into a very visual TV segment, a live TV segment. It was like 5 minutes long. And she just shared, here are 5 different fun things that you could pack for your kids when they go to school. And it's funny because her goal was to reach moms to work with their kids, but she actually started making brand deals after this. Local food companies assumed she was an influencer because she was on TV, even though that was her very first media hit, first time being on TV. And they were like, we'll pay you to include this on your website and on your blog. And now she's a regular on TV and she has partnerships with these food companies. And then another example is I worked with Jessica, her name's Jessica, and Stansberry, and she helps people create digital courses, not the way you do, Jessica, a little bit differently. She's a big YouTuber, and we were thinking, okay, well, obviously what you do is really important. It's newsworthy. It's very cool. How are some ways we can get some coverage? So we went to Google and we typed in women making money from home or moms making money from home. And then we filtered news to see what the news stories were. And then we also filtered the past month. And that gave us some ideas to make the news story trendy. And we found a recent study that said 4 out of 10 moms are the breadwinners at home. We were like, okay, well, that's the hard news angle. That's something that's current. And so we pitched that, hey, 4 out of the 10 breadwinners at home are moms. And we have a local mom who's like just those 4 out of 10. And she can come in and she can tell moms how they can do this. She lives in the Charlotte area. So she went to the local Fox station in Charlotte, North Carolina. And she did a segment in the studio. This was morning TV. This stuff is perfect for morning TV or weekend TV. And she shared, what she did and shared her tips for moms. And she got to use that clip, repurpose it in a bunch of ways. But when it comes to service-based industries, it's all about you promoting yourself and your expertise. So just think like, what's trending now? What are the most common questions I get? And you want to be as specific as possible, especially when you're pitching podcasts. Like, don't tell me, if you're in marketing, don't pitch me and tell me how you can grow my following on social media, because that could mean so many things. Instead, tell me how you can 3 times my website traffic using TikTok. Or instead, tell me how I can build my email list by doing this one thing on Pinterest. Like, that's super specific. And I know I'm going to get a tangible takeaway that I've never heard before.
Well, and I think the cool thing for so many of us who are service-based is, and I learned this from you, Christina, it's like you have this expertise and then it's taking it and applying it to like what is interesting and relevant right now. For example, I was actually, while you were just chatting, I was Googling to verify this, but I saw a headline. I think a lot of us know the actress and fitness star Suzanne Summers passed away.
Right.
And I saw some headline that she didn't have a will in place.
Oh my gosh,
Right? So
again?
I don't actually know if that's true because I was just Googling to see, but let's say it was like, and you were someone who you were an attorney or you advise people on their money or you help people with their retirement or whatever,
This is
right?
good
Then
for
you could,
Ryan. Ryan could jump on something like
right.
that.
He could, but you take that example of like, okay, this is what I do. On the surface, it feels like who cares about this and why would anyone want to hear me talk about this, right? But then you attach that to something that's super relevant and timely and you're like, here's why this is important and everyone needs this right now. And so you're keeping an eye on what's trendy and what's relevant and what's interesting, and you're just creating that connection. That's what helped bridge the gap for me, because I think some people may be listening right now and thinking, Christina, like me, like get in the media, like what, how, like why, how could someone like me do that? Do you often hear that?
I didn't even know this was a thing until I started promoting my online course, and people kept telling me, "Oh, I'm not ready for that." I'm like, "Why are you not ready?" And they'll say, "Well, my business isn't big enough, or I'm not making this much money, or I don't have a team." I'm like, nobody cares about this. Like, whenever I interviewed people when I worked in the news, I didn't care about the size of their business or how much money they were. Like, it blew my mind, this imposter syndrome that holds people back. And it's like, listen, unless the story is specifically about your business finances, nobody cares. We just have a story to do and we need a source. And right now, because you are ready and willing to be my source, like, we got to go. Like, let's do this. And this is actually where a lot of smaller business owners are better than the bigger ones because the bigger ones take forever. They have way too many cooks in the kitchen. They have so much red tape. They want to get approval from everybody. If you are calling the shots in your own business and you can be ready in 2 minutes, then that's what you got to do. I remember, no joke, this was a couple of weeks ago. I had somebody reach out and say, this was an email or a social media message, and they were like, "Hey, I'm doing a story for this TV station, and it's about AI. It was something about public relations and AI, and I need an expert source." And I was like, "Okay, I'm happy to do it." He goes, "Okay, well, it's going to air tonight, so can you like do a video interview in 20 minutes?" And I was like, "Sure." Now, if I was one of these bigger companies, that never would have flown because they would have had to, get the approval from a million people, have 10 meetings about it, overthink everything. So it's like you have so much more opportunity as a small business owner. You can jump on this stuff and do it. So when I started hearing, I actually added to my boot camp, I added a day where I'm like, okay, this is why you can do it. This is why you're telling yourself lies. It blows my mind how many people don't do this and make excuses on why they don't.
Well, I think it's one of those where maybe I'm speaking for people on here. Like it took me a little bit of time to wrap my head around it as well because I was like, I'm a course creator. What would the media possibly be interested in hearing me say, right? But it's that shift of like take what you do and attach it to something that's timely, that's relevant with like whatever's going on in the season, what's happening in the headlines. You helped me over the summer with the strike, the Hollywood strike, and it's like here's take what you do and attach it to like why journalists would be interested in hearing about your topic as it relates to the Hollywood strike. So it does require, I think, a little bit of thinking outside of the box. But once I made that leap, and I'm hoping those of you listening are starting to make this leap as well, it's, oh, there's another way to find clients and build authority. And I could do this a lot faster than I thought was possible.
Yeah, exactly. And you also have to remember your audience. Like don't get distracted by like, ooh, the Today Show, Forbes. Like who's your audience? What are they watching? What are they reading? What are they listening to? That's where you want to go. That's your starting point. Is like where are my people who would turn into customers or clients? And then you work on the story idea after that because you could have the best. I had the running client. They had a running app and I got them on the Today Show. Well, there's a bunch of people who watch the Today Show who don't care about running and they don't want to run anywhere. But when I got them in Runner's World, that was way better for them because everybody reading Runner's World cares about running. So it's a smaller outlet, not as impressive, but it had more ROI for them because that was very niched and that was their audience. So you have to keep that in mind too.
Yeah. So, Christina, I know you have been working on something tirelessly over the last, I don't know how long you've been working
I
on
don't
it, but I
know
would
either.
imagine quite some time because I think at this point, people, those of you who are with us are thinking, what would it look like for me to pitch myself? Where would I pitch myself? What would I say to get somebody's attention? And then what do I do after I get it? So sort of those like 4 core steps of getting earned media. What have you got for them?
Yeah. So, well, I've had my podcast for a few years. That's called Become a Media Maven. I'm a big reader. And I was like, why do I not have a book? Like, I have this online course, I have the boot camp, I have the podcast, I have my newsletter. So I felt like the next logical thing to do was to write a book. So, same title, Become a Media Maven. If you go to becomeamediamaven.com, you will see the book. It's available on Kindle. And it's available on Kindle for just 99 cents until the end of October. So, listening to this live on LinkedIn, you have about a day and a half. So 99 cents on Kindle and then under $10 in paperback. And I made it easy. Become a Media Maven. You can find the podcast there. You can find the book there. That's my way of simplifying everything. Just call everything the same thing. You only buy one domain. It's easy to find.
Well, and everyone can also connect with you here on LinkedIn, Christina. But I would say one of the things that I love, and this is the teacher in me that I love and appreciate about you, is that you are no nonsense. You are practical. This isn't going to be a book where it's like they have to get to chapter 30 to figure out how to make this happen. You have made this so doable, so clear on exactly what they need to do, where they need to find earned media, what to say, all of that. You've got a companion workbook that goes along with it. So for 99 cents, that feels like a no-brainer to me, honestly.
Yeah, thank you. Oh my gosh, I forgot about the companion workbook. Because you know why? And I'm guilty of this too. I read so many nonfiction books and I'm like, oh my God, I learned so much. And then 2 weeks later, I totally forget everything. So I was like, I need to implement this stuff. On my podcast, the next few episodes, I am going to go through and literally just read what I highlighted in Atomic Habits because it's the second time I read the book because I forgot everything the first time. And I know there was some good stuff in there. So that's why I was like, let me make a companion workbook so that'll help people implement what's in here. And the good thing about all of this being digital is that if somebody sends me a note and is like, hey, can you add this to the workbook, or I would love to have this, I can go in there and make the change, and it's just an upload. So the companion workbook can always get better. So that's what I like about it too.
Yeah, and I think it's just, we're at literally the last, what, 8, 9 weeks of 2023. Just kind of fast forwarding and thinking, I am someone who I'm looking to build authority. I'm looking to, tap into other people's audiences. I'm looking to stand out anytime I am posting on social media, anytime I am, speaking to people and networking and all of that. This is that piece that's going to make that happen. Like, imagine being able to say I was on the so and so podcast, or I was featured on the such and such blog. you know, that's, I think, going to give you that momentum that you're looking for over the next, 12 months as we get into 2024.
It's definitely a good time to do this. I was just a couple days ago, like planning out my 12-week year for the beginning of 2024 and like trying to simplify my business and like only focus on a few strategic things. And there's so much to do under the marketing umbrella. It can be so overwhelming. There's a million places to do all of the things. So this is really designed to like help you focus on one thing. And you could even drill it down. Like, I'm only focusing on podcasts in the business category. Like, I'm only pitching podcasts in the business category, and just be hyper focused on that. Make a goal to pitch 5 to 10 every week. And you would be shocked at what that would do for your business.
And the good thing is Christina's book will tell you what to say in that pitch to that podcast.
That is true.
Yeah. So I think, is there anything else that you would share with those who have stuck with us for the last 35 minutes?
Oh my gosh. Well, you're obviously amazing because you're friends with Jessica and she's the best. So one, like, don't think, oh, this isn't for me. I already told you why you should not think that. Thank you for the hearts, Amanda and Dana. That's so lovely. Yeah, go to becomeamediamaven.com. If you don't want to get the book, join my newsletter. If you go to mediamavennews.com, every Thursday, I am like taking you behind the scenes of everything I do. And I'm an overshare. Like Jessica mentioned, I'm like blunt and to the point. Yes, I am that, but I'm also somebody who doesn't hold anything back. I'm not going to be like, oh, you have to buy my course to get that information. I overshare everything. And for me, it's all about the implementation. I feel like we all know everything about everything anyway. Like, it's so easy to find whatever information you need on the internet, but it's implementing it and having somebody by your side while you implement it. And that's my jam. Like, that's where I want to talk to you on social or in the private support community for my online course, or in my email list, like hit reply and say something, So I'm very big on like information. It's easily accessible, but it's the implementation and having somebody there while you do it that really makes the difference.
And I think with that, I would say, can all of you give me a thumbs up that you're going to go connect with Christina, check out her podcast, check out her content, see. Yes, thank you so much.
Oh,
love it, love
amazing.
it, love it.
I
Yay.
feel special. You guys are making my day.
Well, and I think this is, one, I hope that all of you take advantage of this, because getting on podcasts alone has been a game changer for our business. So if I could preach from the rooftops, like, go leverage other people's audiences. It's so going to change your business in such a positive way, and you're going to build incredible relationships. And so, yeah, I would say at the very least, connect with Christina on LinkedIn, check out her podcast, and for 99 cents, go grab her book. And I think with that, I just want to say thank you to all of you for checking out this LinkedIn audio event. And hopefully we'll be on another one soon, Christina.
Awesome. Thank you, Jessica. That was fun. Thank
All
you,
right.
everybody who joined us.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much for listening. You will hear me again next week on the podcast. I'm going to basically read my notes from Atomic Habits to you. If you've read the book before, you're going to want to listen, because I read the book before and I forgot what was in it. Hence me reading it a second time with a highlighter and Post-it notes. And that's really why I'm selfishly doing the podcast episodes. It's going to be a series because I need to remember what's in the book, and reading it a second time with a highlighter still doesn't help me retain it. So I'm thinking, if I read it to you and I speak it out loud, and I put show notes together, I will remember and I will retain it, and it will be helpful to you as well. So that is coming up here before the end of the new year. Some other things I'm doing before the new year, I'm getting my 12-week year worked out. So when the new year comes, I'm ready to go. And lots of planning for the new year. I have lots of changes that I'm going to share with you before then, because I'm looking at my stats every month. This is something I do in the lab with Jay Klaus, and I'm looking at the numbers in all of the places on all of the things, and I'm making some decisions for next year. So be on the lookout for that. I will let you know what's happening there. It'll probably be the last episode of the year after I get through these atomic habits of it all. Thank you for listening. Make sure you check out the show notes to connect with Jessica. She's fabulous, and have a good day.